All right, here is the video review for MPM-6, Masterpiece 6 movie Ironhide. And I don't know where to begin. Now, one, I'm not super thrilled about him because getting him into his vehicle mode, because he comes packaged in robot mode, is very fun for 90% of it, and then the last little bit becomes a nightmare. Is there a proper way to do it? I'm sure there is. The problem is the instructions are of no help. And so you get a point where, again, maybe the designers just gave up and said, you can get it looking decent enough, and left it alone. And it does. Like, if you look at this casually at a glance, it's not horrible. It's not horrible. If you look at it closer, you'll start to see some gaps here in these panels, partly because like these tabs are not strong enough to hold these pieces in place, and the smaller tabs that were supposed to help with it snapped off immediately because they're too small to support what needs to be done here. If you come around to the back, you can see there's some gapping here on his roof. That should all tab into this, and then there's a couple little tabs on the side that should lock into some tabs on the windows, but the way everything mushes together in there, I have not found a way to get that all to line up to fit over these tabs and lock into place, because the minute you start getting these panels aligned, all this stuff in the front starts coming undone worse. So, and again, for a, just on the back of a shelf, there's Ironhide in vehicle mode. It works, but it's frustrating. And that doesn't even convey the frustration of getting to this point, because I've already figured out some things to make this a little bit more stable that have helped a little bit. But like I said, the instructions are of no help, but I'm going to show that off. First off, here we go. He's got his weapons. There's a couple little flip-out tabs on the side, so you can attach them here. In vehicle mode, again, do it carefully because it does not take a whole lot of effort to start disjointing all of these panels that plug in. Like these whole side panels are a foldable panel, and up in here, you'll see it when we start to transform it. But you can put his weapons on, have him roll around in vehicle mode. That's it for that. We're going to see that's already coming loose again. So here are the instructions. Let's get to the back page of the instructions here. Where, okay, flip these panels around, fold this up, fold this head down. They actually get into a little specifics of exactly how the window panel needs to align on the forearm with this hinge sitting there in the forearm. Now the problem is, also in this picture, they went through all the fine detail of folding this down, but this is wrong, because if you leave the hands folded up as fists like that, they will not be able to tab into the side of this piece back here, which I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. But then they just say, oh, and then just take the arms, just fold them up, snap up, fold them up, line up the thing, flip the wheels out, flip down this bumper, bring the bumper down, fold it out, fold it down, and then just all this stuff just goes together. Then you just flip this panel down, push this in, and flip this up. Hey, you're in vehicle mode. Looks pretty straightforward, right? What they fail to mention, and one of the things that I have discovered, so like I say, I'm willing to admit that maybe I'm doing it wrong, and there is some orientation of all this stuff inside his cab that allows this all to just kind of seamlessly kind of go click together that I am missing. As you just saw, it is not in the instructions. Like, one of the things that specifically does not get mentioned in the instructions is when you fold the arms up, these support struts here can end up in all kinds of various positions. You'll know they're in the right position because otherwise the wheels will just flip out like this. They're on springs, but the instructions show you nothing about how there's a tab here and a tab here on the front of this strut that tabs into the wheel and locks it into place. And as you move the arms up, this piece can end up mushed up into here, and you may not realize that, oh, that's supposed to tab into the wheels. I don't know why that step was not in the instructions at all. So if you make sure that these come out straight in a way that the wheels can tab into them and lock properly into place, it doesn't fix the problems that are going on up here. You can see this is already all just coming apart. But it does let you line things up a little easier when you've got everything underneath here lined up properly. So if you get those lined up and tabbed into the wheels, And I'm actually having a hard time seeing because of the bright lights. You make sure those come up and out, and then tab into the wheels. One, it lets the wheels support the weight of the truck without springing out. And like I said, I just can't imagine why there's no mention of that in the manual. There we go. Two, his arms right here. And again, I'll show you. You can almost kind of see one has come loose over here. But there's actually a little tab on the shoulder that fits in to a slot here on the side of this little neck cage here in his chest. When I transform it, I'll point that out, tab out again. But like, that's not in the instructions. There's a lot of little ways to get this to line up a little better, which is the only reason I managed to get this to look as decent as it did in vehicle mode. So, instructions are junk. Basically from the back page on. Like, it's almost like they got into a rush. They had to spend half a page showing you that the weapons plug in obvious ways that they couldn't get any more detail in up here. Because up until this point, it's actually a pretty straightforward transformation, and you can figure things out, and nothing gets super duper frustrating. Like, the whole lower half of the robot really isn't that difficult. And there's some bits going back to robot mode that, again, aren't, since they only show you how to turn it into a vehicle, aren't referenced in the instructions at all. And I'll try to touch on as many of those as I can remember. So yeah. So anyway, you flip these panels up. And here's the inside. Now, like I said, you kind of want to bend the fist at the wrist here. You don't want them just in a fist flat against this panel like the instructions showed. Because when you pop this panel off, you'll see there's a tab right here that tabs into this gray piece. And if you have the fist flat against the panel like it wants you to have, flat up like that, you can already see the problem. That fist covers that tab. Now again, I've arranged these as best as I can to get out of the way without interfering with anything else to kind of fit in this little curved groove here. Because if you fold it all the way up, you'll start getting into some clearance issues up here. So, is that right? Is there a better way? There may very well be. I have not found it yet. So if you found a better way to arrange all this stuff in here so all these panels go together better, great. Because if I could get these back panels to tab in on this and inside the windows, that would really fix a lot of the issues for me. We come up here, we flip these open. These panels come out. You gotta untap them from here. I said once you get through the upper body, a lot of this gets easier. But so the whole arms come up. You can go ahead and fold these panels in half onto the back of the arm. You see this has already come undone. Again, there's a tab up here that locks in. There was on each side a smaller black tab up here that just sheared right off. Like, just trying to get this snapped over it, it just popped those two off. What can you do? They I mean, like, even if it hadn't happened then, they were not going to last long because they were not super strong. So again, you bring this out, and you can see all the armatures and hinges under here to make all this work. This comes up, you fold the bumper in half, and it's going to fold up into his body here in a minute. Here's what I was talking about on the shoulder arm. I mentioned earlier, there's a tab here on the shoulder. Maybe hard to see. There you go. This little tab right here. And when you're folding it up, right here in this armature piece that connects his neck, there's a slot right here. I've got text on my screen, just like, so it's hard to see if I can get it in focus here, but right in here, there's a slot that needs to fit into. And again, if you get the arm so that slot fits in there, it does help a little bit with the alignment. Again, I have not found that perfect sweet spot to get everything aligned in vehicle mode so it all snaps together. I'm working on it, but that's one of the ways you can do it. And again, here's the strut that you need to make sure is sitting straight to plug into the wheels, because it's very easy, especially when you're just like, just fold this up and mash it, that it'll end up bent up in there because of all the rotational pieces in here. So you can already see the front of this looks like a mess at the moment. Anyway, so bring this down, fold this up, down and around. That's going to end up in his chest here, like this. This panel untabs from the legs. It should at least. There we go. And you fold this all up. Around, it's going to come up onto his back here later. Up in here like this. So these end up on his back on his spine. And again, here's a point that when you're bringing the arms around that doesn't get mentioned in the instructions. There's a couple. Let me bring this up a little bit now. There's a slot here and a slot here. They don't come attached out of the box. But when you bring the arm panel around here, and you gotta wiggle it around, there's a tab here that actually is supposed to lock right in there. There's still a bunch of rotational movement here. Like none of these, I have not found a way to actually lock the front hood piece in place here in the robot mode, but it does tab in here. So at least once you get to this point, you've got some stability, because without that tabbed in, it really gets messed up. So you bring those up. You can angle these in however you want. Again, they don't actually fit lock into place, but we don't want to do that yet because there's still something missing. While we've got these like this, these panels right here inside the grill, if you can get your finger behind them properly, slide out. All right, fine. You know what? We'll get a tool that we can get in the groove here. There you go. You got to slide that out, flip it around, and push it back in, and it'll get the GMC logo that went back with the bumper to look like it's split in half. There we go. You don't need a lot of pressure. You just need something to catch in those little grooves there. So you rotate those around. If you don't have to, but if you want the GMC logo on his chest, that's how you do it. Like I said, these come back. And they just kind of settle in here, but they don't, nothing locks. It just kind of settles in like that. And you can close this up. I guess that kind of helps hold it in place, but you can see that because of, they want you to have some range of movement in the arm, so it would be nice if it actually locked somehow, but it just doesn't. Anyway, so the springs will kind of pull the wheels in. Lift this up, bring out the fake brake piece there. The arms come down, and the arms are attached behind the wheels here. So you just kind of fold these panels up and around inside the arm. Fold this up. He's got very skinny arms. And here's the hinge I was talking about. There's a hinge right here that, for vehicle mode, you want to make sure it's flat against the body like that, and then you just bring it around and up for the arms in robot mode. But you basically just position these and then do your best to get the arm folded up in a way that you can live with to your liking, because it's attached way back here. It's kind of weird. Bring his head down. And same over here, fold the windscreen piece up. Bring this up. Again, you just kind of, unless there's a tab I'm missing, because it does look like there's a little tab here on this piece, but it doesn't want to lock in any place, so you just kind of put it where you want it and hope it stays. And again, it is a little bit improved by making sure that that tab is locked in, that I mentioned earlier. But then you gotta just bring his arms around however you feel like you want them to be, and then deal with this mess however you want it to be. I'm pretty sure when it came out of the box, they were folded inward like this, but it's up to you. Okay, make sure this goes up. Is that the right way? Do I have that right? Nope, there we go. Bring it around and out. There we go. Could you not? So yeah. The legs are, from that point on, fairly simple. You just gotta flip this back, untab the panel here. We'll go ahead and lift the foot all the way up here. This panel comes out. The wheel comes up onto the waist, and then this panel flips forward. Rotate this around, bring this up. Yeah, okay. Bring this up. I actually want to bring this down, lift this up, and then take this panel and wrap it around here in the leg, at which point you can bring this back up, bring that panel down. It should snap together back here. There we go. Snap that together on the back. Bring the foot down, flip out the side toe. I guess it's not really a side toe, but just the side part of the foot. Ta-da! And then do the same on the other side. Get this, pull that out, flip the wheel up, put the guard in, bring this down, rotate this panel, and then fold it around the raw pit there. And then tap it together on the back. Bring it down, flip out the foot. There are his legs. And he's a good chunky robot. When you get him all posed right, he looks okay. Like, you can do some cool stuff with him. Like I said, if you just want an Ironhide to sit on your shelf with your other MPs, you can get him looking good. But he's not super fun to play with because the arms are just a mess. These panels, I swear to God I had these in a better position originally. Maybe they were up like that. Because I do remember them being kind of nestled in next to these exhaust pipes. But the way the arms attach like all the way back here is weird. And I just feel like if you're going to spend the money, he's like 130 bucks. And I feel like if you've got money, buy the Studio Series. I think the Studio Series is much more fun as a toy. He does look nice. His arms are a little skinny with the panels. And then again, you can take the guns and attach them, fold them up, attach the weapons to his arms. Like, the door panels look a little big. He does have posable fingers, as well as a posable thumb. It can lift up. And like I said, if you can get him in some decent poses, like I wish these, like I said, the tab under here locks them kind of in place, but there's no way to really secure them that I've found in a position. They tend to droop if you put the arms out too far. The way that the whole arm hinge works is kind of a pain in the butt. And like I said, the instructions in that last bit of going to vehicle mode are useless, are absolutely useless. And I have tried different configurations of the arms as much as I can move inside the vehicle, and I just haven't found a way that lets all those panels tab together. Like, I can get 85% of them tabbed, but it's those last few in the back. Like, you get to a point where I can get the back tabs that were loose in vehicle mode when I started this tabbed in, if I do them early enough in the process. But then you get to the front of the windshield, and then it won't tab in. It'll start popping the back apart again, and vice versa. You always get to those last 2 or 3 panels, and when you try to plug them in, it starts a chain reaction that starts untabbing all of the other panels. I can't imagine that. Granted, he was delayed several times, but I can't imagine that they didn't find a way to solve that. The problem is they just didn't give you the solution in the instructions. So right now, he's a decent looking robot. I don't know if he's worth the money. I feel like you'd be better served picking up the Studio Series. I think they found a lot of solutions to making a lot of his issues work. Again, my only real complaint on the Studio Series is that I wish these two hinges on this bumper folded up into here to kind of give him a, not have this bar across the silhouette. But he does a lot of the same things with the way the shins fold up. He's got the pluggable weapons. His arms aren't quite as skinny and useless here. Like, they attach in like a normal place and can pose normally. They found a great way of locking all of this together. So yeah. And again, not perfect. He does have the hood hanging out, but I just feel like if you just want a nice Ironhide to fool around with from the movies, the Studio Series is much cheaper and solves a lot of the issues with Ironhide in more clever and more solid ways. But I can't argue that this is a nice replica of Ironhide. It's just a matter of, like, I still don't understand why can't I even get you at the same angle as the one across from here? Like, what is up here? Okay, you're resting up against that. You're resting up against that. But you're resting still somehow at a different angle than this side. Leave that tab in. You're resting up against that. Tab that together. Does this need to push in further? Is that my problem? That's okay. That's tabbed in a little further. Oh, now you're a little bit more solid. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe I just didn't push that in all the way. I mean, it's still not going to. I can already tell it's not going to take much to start popping these loose. But yeah, maybe that was it. Like I said, I'm willing to be schooled on this one. If there's an easier way to do some of this stuff, I would be happy to hear it. Because I want to like him. I like Ironhide. I like his movie robot design. I'm enjoying it. He does have a little opening mouth here. I haven't even really covered posability yet, have I? But he's got a little opening mouth, his head up and down, side to side. Again, you can move the arm. Well, now see, now you're loose again. So I guess that wasn't the solution. But the arms can rotate out around this way and around this way. And, you know, there's all sorts of extra joints here to kind of bring them. There's a couple extra joints up in the bicep, but that's mostly just so they can you can put the arms in a somewhat normal looking position here on the body since they attach all the way back here. He does have the waist swivel. I think I showed that off a minute ago. No thigh swivel that I can tell, but he does have ratcheting hips forward, or I guess they don't ratchet out, but widening hips, although this hip armor gets in the way a little bit. He does have knees, although again, the shin armor gets in the way a little bit. And then posable feet. He's got some ankle tilt as well as the ratchet front to back. Hey, yeah, you like that? Okay, he was doing a sexy pose. Anyway, he said if these could just tab in a little bit better, because it just, whenever you start moving the arms, this whole shoulder assembly wants to go with it. And it would be nice if I could avoid that. So, like I said, he's neat. I don't know that he's retail price neat currently. I wish that I was wrong on that. But yeah, I think if you're just looking for, I've said it already in this review, but if you're just looking for a nice Ironhide, get the Studio Series. If you have to have him, again, honestly, he comes in robot mode. If you just want him for your shelf and you're willing to pay the cost, he comes in robot mode. Just take him out of the package and put him on the shelf, because that transformation, until there is some possible clarification on how all those tabs and things are supposed to go together, because I admit that I could very well be doing it wrong. I don't have a whole lot to go on. I would love for my mind to be changed, but right now he's just not worth playing with as a toy. I know adult collectible, all that stuff, but his transformation could have been better. Nice representation of Ironhide. Could have been better. Real quick before we go, I don't have all my Masterpiece movie figures out here, but I do have Bumblebee, since I just saw that this past weekend. It's with the painted mask, but hey, you know, just to give you an idea of how big he is with Bumblebee. There he is, Masterpiece movie Ironhide.